All right, so last time on the Undercover Brony, we reviewed the episode about what was that dude's name? Not Smolder. The dude, the Red Dragon.
Garble.
Garble. Okay, and basically to summarize that episode.
Oh hi, thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
And now we are back talking about an episode that can basically be summarized as such. Wait for it. Wait for it. Hold on. No, this is gonna be funny.
Okay.
This summarized this episode perfectly. Wait for the drop. This is all this episode is.
I can't no more. I got the horses in the back. Horse stock is attached.
Let's get this review going.
All right. So,
I love DWK. He's like the greatest YouTuber on the planet.
I know, right?
Subscribe to him.
So, this episode, it's cute, it's heartwarming, and it makes the Apple family really good again. So, I'm happy. And it's another episode by Dave Rapp, too.
Yeah, what did he do again?
He's done a couple episodes, I know that. But he came on in the later seasons.
That's right. So overall, what do you think?
I loved this episode. This was a lot of fun. I love that it basically gave Applejack like this childlike joy again. Because she's always been about work. She's always been about work. But now she's actually having fun again, and I love to see that. And yeah, I felt bad for Big Mac, I'll tell you that much.
Okay, well, I'm glad one of us seemed to think that it was great. I thought that this was... I'm going to summarize my... Now, Grant, maybe I've just had a lame day. Maybe I'm just not in the best mood. Maybe I should have jerked it a couple more times today. But look, I'm going to tell you my opinions on this episode right now. I was so annoyed with Golden Delicious or whatever the hell her name is for like 3/4 of this episode.
Really?
I felt bad for Big Mac throughout the whole episode. And overall, I feel like, because look, the plot is, hey, this thing only comes around every 100 moons. That's a long time. We got to get this right. Big Mac's been busting his chops all night putting together the schedule. All my friends are busy because of school stuff. And Granny Smith's like, dog, bro, don't even trip. I got backup. And then Applejack's like, oh, did you get one of our strapping young family members? Like the Yowie Yummy Beefcake? And then out comes Golden Delicious and her cats. And I'm like, oh, okay, this should be good for some comedy. But then, and I'm not going to summarize the whole plot. I'm just saying this a little bit to illustrate my point. There was a point watching this episode where it seemed to me that Golden Delicious was deliberately trying to drive Applejack insane. Because all she wanted to do was harvest the apples because, only happens 100 moons. And every time she stokes Apple Bloom's curiosity about this sipling seed, the great pumpkin, it's the great pumpkin, and whatever, she's smirking, she's cackling, she's like raising her eyebrow like Dwayne Johnson in WWF 2000 in the year 2000, and it's like she's telling Applejack, "Ha, suck it, youngin." And the Aesop of the message seems to be Applejack should take the stick out of her butt and have fun. Okay. But at the same time, only happens once in 100 moons, I think is a little more important. And I don't know why. Golden Delicious just wasn't funny. Big Mac didn't say anything except nope and yup. And I get it. It's a meme, but I'm over it. TBH. So the episode was better than last week, but like,
here's the thing, though, and I'm going to talk about Goldie Delicious here. First of all, she's still funny as hell with all her cats. Okay, all the cat acting.
yeah, but it's hard. It's hard to screw up cats.
But here's the thing. She's trying to tell this entire time, she's trying to tell Applejack to lighten up. And here's the thing. Yes, I get 100 moons. But do you notice that the quote-unquote, they're just crop circles, okay? The crop circles that are being put through.
Yeah, M. Night
Doing
Shyamalan
part of the work for them during the night.
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan was a consultant on this episode, clearly.
So it's like, I'm thinking to myself, if they're having the apple crop circles, why is AJ complaining if part of their work's already being done?
I didn't think about that. Man, there's plot holes in my plot holes. Okay, so like I said, episode starts off, Applejack feeds her family pancakes. She's like,
she even feeds Winona pancakes.
Is that healthy?
Probably not with syrup, but I'm sure the pancakes themselves are okay.
So she tells the plan. Big Mac spent hours in the heat of the night devising a map.
Heaven will find her.
And devising plans
goes,
and a map. And she's like, we got this worked out perfectly. The four of us can do this no problem. And like I said, Golden Delicious shows up. And Applejack seems to share my sentiment in this episode. She was just, and it was funny though, she was not having any of Golden Delicious's crap in this entire episode. Oh, she was mad doggy her for frames upon frames. And you know, opening credits, whatever. They're going out into the field when the show comes back. And Applejack and Big Mac, they're bucking trees. They see over yonder Granny and Goldie D. That would be her name if she was like a rapper. Goldie D and Gran Smith are, you know, they're palling around, whatever. This is around the point where, if I remember correctly, the old timer brings up the story of Johnny Appleseed or whatever the hell, and Apple Bloom. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got my things mixed up. Before the opening credits, that's when she brings up the Johnny Appleseed allegory. And Applejack's like, ain't Apple Bloom a little young? And Apple Bloom's like, no, now I'm old enough to catch this thing. So Applejack's
she's hanging out with Tree Hugger, I swear.
So Tree Hugger needs her own episode. Do you understand me?
She needs to come back.
Yeah, dude, voiced by DWK. So
and with the head and everything, I'm like, and she'll just go around and she's like super
just giving
high
people
the entire
thumbs
time.
up.
Yeah, she's super high and she just goes up to everyone and DWK is like, all right, firstly.
So then Applejack's getting miffed and annoyed, and Goldie D is I swear to God trolling Applejack. They're getting a lot of work done, but whatever. They go to bed. They wake up the next morning, and to repeat my joke, M. Night Shyamalan comes out of retirement, semi-retirement. Did Glass do good? I don't know. Comes out of retirement. Okay. Comes out of retirement, and he's like, how does he talk again? I am going to put these apples in a circle. And then Mel Gibson walks out and punches Big Mac in the face. No,
and then you have the nostalgic good excited effect that.
And then Goldie D gets killed by water. Because that's how the aliens died inside.
I know. It's such a weird thing. Which my question is, where the fuck has Mel Gibson been since Passion of the Christ? Like, he's just been gone off the face of the earth. He did really fucking good in what was that? Not Rush Hour, but the one where it's him and Danny DeVito as like
Danny
cops or
DeVito.
something.
Wait, are you talking about Lethal Weapon?
Yes, in Lethal Weapon.
That was like Lethal Weapon 4.
I
That was
know.
from the 80s.
I know, but it's like, get the fuck out of here. Go home.
So
I'm sorry. I love that there was a YouTube poop that I saw where it was Mario and Yoshi talking in Danny DeVito's and Mel Gibson's voice.
So what happens next is, so after M. Night Shyamalan comes in with a steel chair, Applejack's like, maybe they fell off, or maybe it was the wind, or maybe someone's playing a prank, maybe something along those lines. And then essentially Golden Delicious calls her a fun Nazi. I believe Granny Smith says, and this is a quote, "I swear that girl's part mule." I'm like, LeMayo what with a U? W-T what?
Rob Rafflecopter.
Rafflecopter. I love that one. So to get to the point, Applejack's growing concerned because the old people are doing whatever. Big Mac is tired, and
Apple Bloom keeps just trying to catch
yeah, she's playing Crocodile Dundee or Rambo, which, by the way, I saw Godzilla last night. I saw the trailer for the new Rambo. The song they used was Old Country Road. So I'm hearing Billy Ray Cyrus and Lil Nas while it's Rambo. He's going to fight the Mexican cartel now or something. I'm like, whatever. That's awesome. So Applejack goes into the barn because she is far too busy playing Naked Snake from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. And she says, you know what, Apple Bloom, look, bro, I don't want to be that guy, but like that's kind of like an old wives' tale to, get kids to help with the harvest. And Apple Bloom's like, wow, Applejack, when did you become a fun Nazi? But Applejack's like, look, I'll help you with the traps, but you gotta work with me tomorrow. Because this thing only lasts 2 days, I believe.
Yeah, it's basically like for 3 days they're able, because all the apples are ripe. So Applejack's like, look, help me out today. I'll help you set traps out tonight. We'll be good. And I love how they're like, how Applejack's kind of compromising and making it so that Apple Bloom can work with them. And also, it plays more into the episode in a little bit when Applejack's all happy, and it's like, I haven't had this much fun in a while. And let's talk about that flashback for a minute.
Go ahead.
First of all,
I'm sorry, really quick. Young Applejack just sounds like Applejack when she was being voiced in season 1.
And also, it's Applejack before she grew a pair of balls. Like that other nostalgia kind of thing. Oh my god.
Oh my.
But I love how it shows where Big Mac gets his what do they call it? The yoke, where he gets his yoke from his pap.
And, yeah.
And
you're right,
you still have pear butter and Bright Mac working on the farm with everyone. And Applejack falls into a trap. Just like Batman v Superman, except she doesn't levitate out for some reason. Some fucking goddamn reason. Anyway, sorry, I'm still miffed about that shit. Anyway, she falls in, and that's why she doesn't have fun anymore, is because she's like, no, I'm not going to let this get to me. I'm going to stop having fun because I fucked up. It was at this point that Applejack knew she fucked up. But it's that kind of thing. And it makes a whole lot of sense if you really think about it.
So, wait, what the fuck?
What?
So are you aware of the Celestia Luna episode?
Yeah, apparently there's a part where they go into a...
No, nothing plot related. It's being written by Gail Simone.
Who is Gail Simone?
The comic book writer who works prolifically with DC, who works with DC Comics, who is most famous for her run on Wonder Woman.
Ooh.
I just saw that randomly.
So a DC writer is coming to My Little Pony.
For the episode called Between Dark and Dawn. That's so DC.
Right?
That reminds me, I still need to watch Swamp Thing.
God, now I'm thinking of that one Justice League episode with Superman going apeshit because Flash died or whatever in the alternate universe.
Oh yeah, that was an episode of Justice League. Yeah. So here's my thing. I don't mean to detract, but like, why'd they bring on a comic book writer? Were they just like, okay, this show has a wonky continuity, and comic book writers have to pay attention to every continuity. So let's have her in and just like, I don't know.
Are we trying to replace Emma Larson here?
Thanks, Gay Larson.
Gay Larson.
So what happened?
Brie Larson, more like Gay Larson, am I right?
Well, I'm just saying, her and that Monica Broad, or whatever her name was, her friend in Captain Marvel. I'm just saying, there was some shit tease going on there.
Yep.
Okay, so what happened? So Applejack is helping Apple Bloom set up traps. And these were my favorite parts of the episode. Not so much for the antics or the jokes, but it's just because, like, Applejack and Apple Bloom's relationship, it's one of those things where you kind of always forget how good it is / how integral it is to both characters. You forget that until they're in an episode together, because just as we sadly predicted they would, the Cutie Mark Crusaders just slowly started disappearing more and more after they finally got their cutie marks. Babsy was never coming back. So, and Applejack, when she's not being, for the most part, the least out of focus from the main six, she's just kind of being Applejack. And I'm not saying Applejack is any more or less one or three dimensional than the other main six, but she's more cut and dry. That's what I like about Applejack. But my point is they're bonding, they're laughing, they're smiling. And because I don't know how much they paid for the new facial animation rigging technology they've been using in this season, but I'll tell you this, the smiles they give each other, it's just the nicest things. And you know, it's times like it's episodes where I realize something. And I've thought this for the last several episodes. I'm thinking, you know, even when one of these episodes doesn't hit well, like the third episode, or for me personally, the last episode, this season is proving very memorable. Because I'm going to be honest, there are times with seasons like 7 and 8 and probably 6, more than almost any of them, where like the seasons just seem to kind of fly by in a blur. Not like in oh man, time moves fast, but because there were good episodes, some great episodes, but they all felt just kind of here or there. But this season is having a lot of good moments and scenes, and the stuff between Applejack and Bloom, it's nice. So it's nighttime, and wait, let me make sure I'm not getting my scenes mixed up. So the first, because there's like 2 montages of them working together. And so that's right. Okay, I remember now. So Applejack is helping Apple Bloom with traps, whatever. They go to sleep. The next day, M. Night Shyamalan returns from being buried alive by the Undertaker in a casket match, and he goes completely Harambe shit on these apples. There's designs and patterns. It's literally, you can look at the shot, it's going over the field. And to point out your plot hole, I don't know why Applejack wasn't stoked that all these apples were harvested, but whatever. And then Applejack is suddenly like, all right, Sid, we gotta catch ourselves a bona fide Italian style. Oh wait, what? Anyway, she's like, we gotta cast this bugger. And there's a point where Apple Bloom's like, wait a minute, didn't you tell me that this was just something made up for kids? And she's like, yeah, that's before I discovered
what joy this was.
That's before I discovered the slimmest forms of probable evidence that you can muster. And so they're another day setting up traps, whatever. There's a point where they're perched high above the trees and they're scouting and scouting and looking. And Apple Bloom is snoring and snoring. And Applejack's like, don't worry, Sugar Cube. You know that word she used to use all the time, but now she doesn't as much anymore. And she's like, I'll catch that thing. 2 frames later, she's snoring and snoring. And Apple Bloom wakes up, hears a noise. And hears a noise, and then when you're high and walk into the wrong cartoon, you're funny, John. So,
it's Fred the Fish walking into My Little Pony. Okay,
did you know they gave him his own episode? I heard recently.
Really?
Yeah, they gave the Malay guy his own episode. That's what I heard.
Oh my gosh!
So she's like, Applejack, wake up. She's like, huh? What happened? Is it Gen 5 yet? And she's like, I almost want the show to just be over with, just because it's the ripping off a Band-Aid mentality where it's like, come on, just get it over with. But no, we still got.
Do we want to go through the same shit that Game of Thrones fans are going through right now?
Oh God, yeah, because minus the break, we've got like what are we at? We're at episode 10. We've got like 12, 13 more weeks of this slow, gradual build to the death of our happiness. Well, probably not that extreme.
We have 16 episodes left.
We have 16 episodes left, but 2 of them are bunked together. So their traps go off.
15.
So they see this thing in the shadows, and throughout the episode, they'd shown a representation of what this thing looks like. I thought it was a Karen at first, but it has it's got antlers. It looks like it's from the new God. It looks like one of the deers from the new God of War game that came out last year. It looks sick.
You can just imagine it coming up to you and going, boy.
So, and this I thought was a nice touch. Apple Bloom, this whole episode's been like, let's find it. And there's been a progression that Applejack comes around to the idea of getting it. But at the end of the day, for all they know, this is an otherworldly monster. So while Applejack, the adult who has seen her fair share of some crazy shit over the last 8 seasons, she's like, all right, let's go. And Apple Bloom, who has seen some stuff here and there, but for the most part, I think the gnarliest thing the CMC ever did was probably where they had to, actually, that wasn't even the CMC. It was just Apple Bloom. They went through the forest and they had to fight that chimera.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that was probably
the cockatrice, but then, the chimera.
Well, Scoodle has almost died a few times, too. Anyway, my point is that...
She almost got decapitated by a fucking lawnmower.
Yeah, like that movie Brain Dead. So they, what was I going to say? So Apple Bloom is terrified because she's like, holy crap, that's a freaking monster. And Apple Bloom's just like, oh, hell yeah, that's a freaking monster. So it's chasing them. They're running. And their hooves, when they're hitting the ground, they're clopping and clopping and clopping. It's sounding like DWK's apartment. And eventually this thing gets trapped in a thing. And then we find out we've been bamboozled, boys. We got, if this was 2017, I would have said we got beamed, and then I would have dabbed. Because the forest, the mythical forest entity, is in fact not a mythical forest entity. It is biggest Macintoshic, and who has got to be who has got to be going like almost 3 days without sleep, or at least 2 days with about 2 hours of sleep.
Because he's basically sleepwalking.
Golden Delicious and Granny, I almost called her Granny Goodness, and Granny Smith are just like, yeah, that big Macintosh. He's a, we wanted, they were just like, yeah, there's like something about Apple Bloom having fun and Applejack reclaiming childhood innocence or something. I don't care. And then, but then they pull a Castlemania, and then they're like, the mythical, interesting entity that we had built up across the episode, and then we swerved you into thinking it's not real, it's something mundane, may potentially be real because they see a trail, a carrots. Because this is the next scene. I skipped over. I'm sorry. It's the next day. Golden Delicious is leaving. There's a trail of carrots. And Applejack has these writers had the freaking temerity to look me, a grown man, in the eyes and say that, okay, not only do we make Applejack unintentionally sympathetic, and everyone was calling her a fun Nazi, even though she kind of had some reasons to be a quote-unquote fun Nazi, they had the audacity to tell me, oh, this thing, it could be real after all. Who knows? Maybe it was actually Grogar. I don't know. Maybe Grogar is not actually evil. Maybe he just wants to bring Easter and the Christian agenda back to Equestria. My point is that they even do a thing where they're like, next adventure, they run to the screen and then they jump and they freeze frame. Like if Mario just became a pony. And
now, here's the thing. When you were talking about Grogar bringing the Christian agenda, I'm saying, no, fuck that. He's bringing the Westboro Baptist Church back, okay? Seriously, they came to my county, to my city, went to my rival high school, and called it Homo High. I'm dead fucking serious.
Man, that's wackier. That's wackier than that time. It's wackier than that time my Mormon coworker told me about how back in the day the Mormons used to get run out of Wisconsin and Utah with torches and pitchforks.
Which, speaking of, how many zombies would Rob Zombie rob if Rob Zombie could rob zombie?
Okay, so the episode I thought was better than last week. I had a little more fun with it than I did, and recapping it, it's a little better than I thought. I just thought that, in my opinion, there was I just took some issues with some of the writing, but just because, and I can't believe 10 years in, whenever someone doesn't like an episode from the show, someone still has the balls to tell me, oh, it's just a show for kids. No, there are shows for kids. Then there's this. Then there's Family Guy. There's a tier of animation.
And just because it's designed for kids doesn't mean that it gives an excuse to be
Let me rephrase. There's shows for kids. Then there's MLP, Ed and Eddie, and Invader Zim. And then there's Family Guy. There are certain shows where they have more of an applicability to the general American consumer base thing. I don't know, big adjectives and suffixes. My point is what would you give the episode, John?
I would give this a 7.5. This was actually a fun episode. It was heartwarming, charming, but again, from a realistic standpoint, doesn't really stack up anywhere really high up.
I was going to give it a 7.5 too, but I feel like your 7.5s and my 7.5s are a little different, but I'm going to go with it anyway. 7.5 for me, just because it was above average and it was fine. Mm-hmm. And realistically, they gave us perfect pair. Does Applejack even need to try to have a good episode anymore after that?
No. But it doesn't hurt that she has that she's not doing too bad.
Can I say something? Applejack never had a bad episode. And what I mean is, any of her solo episodes were never bad because of her. It's not because they made Spike a complete retard in some of his solo episodes, like the infamous Spike at Your Service. That's because they sacrificed the character's integrity for the plot. They've never done that with Applejack. Applejack is arguably the most consistently portrayed character on the show. From episode 1 to Bats to now to Perfect Pair to any of them. There's a consistent character with a consistent set of concrete beliefs there. Anytime an episode was bad and Applejack was in it and coincidentally the other main 6 weren't around, she was almost never the reason why the episodes were bad. It was literally almost everything else. I needed to get that off my chest before the show ends. Applejack has always been and will always be fine.
Yeah,
But
and I agree with you.
And I'm not saying she needs to be carried because she's bad, but the problem is she's so good at excelling at that everyman, straight man type of character. She needs someone to work with and play off of. That's why that's why her episodes with Apple Bloom work, because Apple Bloom counteracts her personality, but they're still family. If they would let Big Mac talk, there'd be a foil there too. That's why she works with the main 6, I mean, Racist Barn wasn't a bad episode because the song was a little whatever. It's because, let's be real here, most of her family sucked. But, anyway, I'm getting off track. My point is, Applejack was always fine, but she needs to work with the right people. It's like watching Roman Reigns wrestle. He's completely fine. But he needs another good wrestler, not to carry him, but to elevate him, because Roman Reigns can't necessarily carry a match. Just like Applejack is good, but because she's good, that doesn't mean she can carry an episode. The only ones in the main 6 I can think of that could carry their own episode is Twilight for sure. Probably Rainbow Dash, and probably Rarity. But even then, the only one I'm sure on is Twilight. And even then, she usually has Spike. So my point is, Applejack, you did your best. You did for 10 years. You did your best. I just wanted to put over Applejack.
Yep. So, do you want to talk about next week's episode? Because I smell an Aesop.
Oh boy. Okay, so ladies, gentlemen, and everything else in between. We don't discriminate.
Ladies, gentlemen, non-conforming, binary.
And non-binary.
Yes. Gender fluid.
Postmodern identityism.
Radical feminists.
We can probably do without. So the next one is student council. Starlight Glimmer relishes her role as school counselor and encourages the students to come by her at any time about anything. But she becomes overwhelmed and learns a lesson. Now let me pose a question to you, the jury, the audience. And we love Starlight Glimmer. I think us and DWK are some of the only outspoken Starlight Glimmer marks. Partially because we just hope that they'll canonize her and Trixie. My point. Does that not sound like every Starlight Glimmer episode since season 6? Almost. She does a thing. She digs it, but she gets too into it, and then she learns a lesson. That was every little thing she does. That was the episode where she switched the princess's cutie marks. That was the episode where she actually had she was in charge of the school, and Discord was there, although that was mostly Discord's fault. But then again, I'm not complaining because Starlight Glimmer's awesome, and any glim glam is good glim glam. At least I think so. And if you don't think so, well, you know what? You can go and cherish that, because our opinions are what make human beings unique, and why we are not godless like the kaijus. I'm kidding. They have a god. It's called Ghidorah. No, it's Godzilla probably. I don't know.
So that's it from me, John.
Actually, it's probably more godless than world-destroying monsters is Ska. Anyway, I'm Snakeskin.
And we'll talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.
Cancel Ska 2K19.